Tag auch, hier ist Marius aus Hamburg.
Today is Pi Approximation Day in the US, but that's not what this video is about. It's about unboxing a, not DIY, fully assembled car subwoofer tube. After buying that not so suitable as passive radiator guitar speaker, I made a real bargain on eBay. I got a subwoofer tube with a 10-inch driver for less than the cheapest new single 10-inch woofer I found, even if I take shipping costs into account. So the plan is to take it apart and only use the driver as a passive radiator, but that also depends on if it is worth keeping it assembled. Okay, it has a faint smell of cigarette smoke. I'll have to consider carefully if I want to have that smell in my living room. Anyway, the driver has a paper cone which appears to be air dried. That's quite good for this otherwise cheap looking sub. On the other hand, they want to trick you by silver paint to think that it's made from aluminium. Well, who knows that, and especially why air-dried paper is superior to contact-dried paper anyway. But the sub has some LEDs integrated into the grille, which assumingly would not illuminate a black cone as good as this silver one. The moment of truth, the knock test. Sounds okay. The bass reflex port even clips my mic. The terminals are gold-plated and spring-loaded, but the spring is not very strong. And there is a receptacle for a barrel plug which says 12 volts DC. I already knew that, so I got my universal power adapter ready. Yep, it works. How about closing the curtains to see its full glory? Unnecessary, but looking nice.
How do you recognize that a cone is air-dried? On the front of this cone you can see a slightly rough surface, and especially the back is very rough. I was able to see that when I unmounted it for impedance measurement. Air-dried paper is superior because it has many air bubbles enclosed within, which make the paper stiffer. A disadvantage is that this causes stronger resonances, but that usually is suppressed by the crossover. To calculate TSPs, I dismounted the driver from the tube and measured the impedance response. I calculated the volume of the tube, reinstalled the driver and measured again with closed bass reflex port. I let ATA calculate the TSPs using the closed box method. To check my results, I measured the impedance with open bass reflex port and compared with the simulation in AJ Horn. Using the actual length of the port in the simulation caused a higher tuning frequency than measured, so I adjusted the length in the simulation that the calculated impedance plot matches the measured one. That's no mistake. The real length is usually shorter than simulated, as the magazine Hobby Hi-Fi found out. That way I proved that my calculated parameters are correct and also discovered the theoretical frequency response of the sub.
Where the smell won't matter is in the bathroom, where I put it directly underneath the suction. Let's start the measurement.
ATA uses a sine sweep through the whole audible spectrum. Does it match my simulation? Well, only the rising edge around 40 Hz looks quite the same. Everything else is the fault of the room. Of course, the response is not linear because I included the acoustics of the room in my measurement. I set the time window at such a long length that I can display as low as 20 Hz. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible to measure below 300 Hz because the room was not big enough, and I definitely wanted to get the response of the sub and not only the part above it. But that's actually a good thing, because my subwoofer amp has the possibility to suppress one room resonance. Anyway, the human perception of sound is not as good in the bass as in the mids.
I quickly threw a high-pass filter for the satellites together from some parts I had lying around. Well, it actually took half an hour or so, measuring several times. Nevertheless, I consider the outcome convincing because I didn't have any parts that would have fitted better. The sound? Reasonable. Actually, everything I do in the bathroom takes longer now with music on. But I didn't record a sound demonstration. It doesn't make sense in my opinion, because the sound very much depends on the sound of the satellites used. Maybe in a later video with a comparison of several subwoofers. Conclusion: for the designers, appearance seemed to be more important than the quality of used parts. But to me, this seems normal for car hi-fi equipment. I admit the sound quality is better than some parameters promise. For less than 11 euros, it's really a bargain. I'd say up to 75 euros would be even acceptable for a new one. By the way, how do you like my new intro? It's a sine sweep from 130 Hz to 16.4 Hz, sub-contra C, with the last note held for 30 seconds. Did you notice that? Well, there I got an idea for a video where you can test your sub. So better subscribe that you don't miss it. Thank you for watching.